Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sabrina and I'm back with another Excel tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to be going through two different functions called TEXTBEFORE and TEXTAFTER. Now what these two functions does is it basically helps you extract text before either a space, comma, or some other characters that you define in the formula. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the TEXTBEFORE function. Okay, so TEXTBEFORE is specially designed to return the text that occurs before a given character or substring, which is known as the delimiter in the function. All right, so if you look at my spreadsheet here, I've got a few examples here which I'm going to go through, and I'm going to show you how you would use the function in each of those scenarios. So the first example is basically, you can see I've got a list of full names here, but the first name and the last name are separated by a comma. So if you wanted to extract only, say, the first name, in that instance, you would be extracting the text before the comma, which is basically your delimiter. Okay, so what you would do is you would type equal text before. Okay, and then if you then type open bracket, you'll see the list of arguments that you need to fulfill. So the first one is the text. You need to choose the text, which is basically the original text that you want to extract from. So I'm just going to select the cell, okay, and that would input the cell reference number. You would then enter a comma, and then you want to put in the second argument, which is the delimiter. Okay, now the delimiter is basically the character or the substring that delimits the text. Okay, so in our case, our delimiter is basically the comma, right? So you would basically put the comma in quotation marks. So you put a quotation mark, you would then enter a comma, and then you would put another quotation mark. Okay, and then the rest of the arguments in that formula, such as the instance number, the match mode, and the match end, that's all optional fields, okay? And we don't really need to fill in these. So I'm just going to stick with the two mandatory arguments, which is the text and the delimiter, okay? And then you would close your bracket to complete the function, and then press enter on your keyboard. And as you can see, it's returned the first name, which is basically the text before the comma. Now, I can copy and drag that formula down. So if you just select the first cell with the formula in, and then go to the fill handle, which is the small green square in the bottom right-hand corner of the selected cell, and then just hover your mouse over the fill handle until you see a black cross, and then just double-click your mouse, and that will copy and drag the formula down into the rest of the cells. So you can now see that for the rest of the rows there, it's extracted the text before the comma, which is basically the first names. All right, so that was text before. Now, what if you wanted to extract the text after the comma? Okay, so you wanted to extract the last names. So in that kind of scenario, you would use the function called TEXTAFTER. Okay, so I'm going to show you that example as well. So in this case, you would type equal TEXTAFTER, okay, open bracket, and then your arguments are exactly the same. So the mandatory arguments are the text and the delimiter. So you would select the text that you want to extract from. So again, I'm just going to select the cell with the text in. Okay, and that would input the cell reference number. You would then type a comma, and then you need to enter in the delimiter, which is the comma. Okay, so you would put that in quotation marks, just like we did before. So you would enter a quotation mark, you would put a comma in, and then put another quotation mark, and then you would close your bracket, to complete your function. So this function will extract the text that comes after the comma. Okay, so if you now press the Enter key on your keyboard, you can now see that it's done exactly what we've asked for. It's extracted the text after the comma, which is the last name. Okay, and then again, I'm just going to copy this formula down into the rest of the cells like so, and you can see that the formula has been copied down and the text after the comma have also been extracted for the rest of the rows. Okay, so it really depends on what part of the text you want to extract, and then you would decide whether you want to use the text before or the text after function, okay? And then of course you need to specify your delimiter. So is your text delimited by a comma or a space or a particular character? So you need to be able to define that to enter in the formula as well. Okay, let's have a look at another example. So I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. Right, so now second example, you can see I've got, again, the same names, okay, same list of full names, but I've got some extra information now. I've actually put in the designations, the job groups for each person, okay? So this time what you've got is you've got the full name, and then you've got a comma, and then the designation. So in this example, I want to extract the first name, okay? So that would basically be the text before the space. So if you look at the first name and the last name, it's separated by a space, not a comma this time. So the delimiter would be the space, right? So if I wanted to extract the first names in this case, I would again just type the formula. So it would be equals text before, open bracket. Okay, so our first argument is the text, so we would select a cell, which is the text that we want to extract from, and that would, as always, put the cell reference number in. You would then enter a comma, and your delimiter now, remember, is the space, okay? So we're basically saying here to extract the text that comes before the space, which will of course be the first name, and that's what I want. So again, you would just put space in quotation marks. Now, you would do that by putting a quotation mark first, like so. You would then enter a space. So just press the space bar on your keyboard and then put another quotation mark. Okay, so always remember to put these characters or the delimiters in between quotation marks. Okay, and that would do. So now you can complete your function. So you just need to close the bracket to complete that function, and then you press enter on your keyboard, and that returns the first name. Okay, which is perfect. So again, I can copy and drag that formula down, and that's now returned the first name for the rest of the rows as well. Okay, now what if I wanted to only extract the text after the space? So I only wanted the last names and the designation. Okay, now in that scenario, I can use the text after function. Okay, so let's see how we would do that. So again, you would type equal text after, open bracket. Again, select the text that you want to extract from. So you just select the cell, and that would add the cell reference number. You would then enter the comma. And now your delimiter, remember, is the space, okay, because I only want to extract the text that comes after the space. So you would put quotation mark, just like we did before. Press the space bar on your keyboard to enter a space, and then put another quotation mark, and then close your bracket. Okay, that completes the function, and then press enter on your keyboard again. Right, there you go. So now I've got the last name of that person and their designation, just like I wanted. So again, I'm going to copy and drag that formula down, and that would do exactly the same for the rest of my rows. Okay, so I hope you're getting the idea around this. It really depends on what kind of information you want to extract, and that would determine whether you would use the text before or the text after function. And then you just need to define your delimiter. Okay, so that could either be a space like we just did there, or it could be a comma like we did in the example before. Okay, now I'm going to show you another example. So let's go down a little bit more. Right, so this is the last example. Now, here, what I've done is I've basically entered the information slightly differently. So this time I've separated the first name and the last name and the designation by commas. Okay, so I've got the first name, comma, last name, comma, and then the job designation. Now, in this situation, I want to extract the first and the last name. So I want the full name extracted, right? Now, what you could do is you can use another argument in the text before function, which we haven't used yet. So let me show you how you would do that. So in this scenario, you would type equal text before, okay, open bracket. So the first part is, of course, the text. So you would select the text that you want to extract from. Okay, and that puts the cell reference number. You then add a comma. The next argument is the delimiter. Okay, now we already know that our delimiter is a comma. Okay, so we want to extract the text before the second comma in that text string. Okay, so that's the first one after the first name, and then that's the second one after the last name. So I want to extract the text before the second comma, and that's how I'll be able to get the first name and the last name as a result. So my delimiter would be a comma. So you would put that in quotation marks. So you would enter a quotation mark, put a comma in, and then put another quotation mark, right? However, we don't just close it there because we've got two commas in our text string, right? If you remember in my first example that I showed you, there was actually just one comma, right? So I didn't have to specify which comma to extract from. But in this case, I have to specify which comma to extract the data from because I've got more than one commas. So you would need to say that you need to tell the function to extract text before the second comma. Okay, so you need to specify that in the function. So to specify that, what you would do is once you've entered in the delimiter, which is the comma, you then enter another comma, and then you enter the other argument, which is a third argument called instance number. So here you're specifying the number or the instance number or the number of that comma. So you would put a number 2 in there. So here you're saying extract text before the second comma. Okay, that's why we've put a number 2 there to specify it's the second comma. Okay, you would then close your bracket, and that would then complete our function, and then you would press the enter key on your keyboard. Right, so there you go. I've now got the first name and the last name. Okay. And again, you can just copy and drag that formula down so that it pulls the first name and the last name for the rest of the rows. All right. Now, in this example, of course, we used the instance number argument 2. But what you could also do is you could use the function a little bit differently to extract the same information. Okay, so you could actually tell the function that you want to extract the text before the last comma, because if you look at the text, the second comma is actually our last comma, right? So you can actually specify that in the argument instead. So how would you do that? So what you would do is again just type equals text before, open bracket, and then select the text like we've always done in our previous examples. You would then enter a comma. Our delimiter is, of course, comma. So you would just put that in quotation mark. So you would put a quotation mark, comma, and then another quotation mark. Okay. And then you would put another comma. You still need to define the instance number, but instead of putting a 2, you could put -1. -1 is the bit that's telling the formula that it needs to extract the text before the last comma in that text string. Okay, that's why we put -1. So if you now close your bracket to complete the function and then press enter on your keyboard, as you can see, it's extracted the same information, the first name and the last name. Okay, so you can use, either formulas. So in this one, I've used -1 as by instance number to determine that it's the last comma in that text. Whereas in the first scenario there, I used a number 2 in the instance number to specify that it needs to extract text before the second comma. Okay, so you can use either argument. It doesn't really matter. It returns the same result. All right. Okay, so I'm going to just copy and drag this formula down as well. And that completes the results for the rest of the rows. All right. Now let's have a look at a text after function as well. So let's say text after the last comma. Okay. So say I wanted to only extract the designations. Okay, now I could use the text after last comma argument. So what you would do there is you would type equal text after open bracket, select the text that you want to extract your data from, then enter a comma. You then enter your delimiter. So as you know, the delimiter is the comma, so you would put that in quotation marks. So I'm just going to enter quotation mark, comma, and then another quotation mark. And then you would put another comma. And then the last argument you want to enter is the instance number. So the instance number here, okay, I'm going to use the last comma option. Okay, so if you remember, when you're trying to put in the argument for the last comma in that text, you put a -1. Okay, now you could put -1, or you could put number 2 to specify it's the text after the second comma, or you could use -1 to specify that it's the text after the last comma. It doesn't really matter which one you use, it will give you the same result. Okay, so you would then close your bracket and then press enter on your keyboard. And there you go, it's returned the designation for me now. Okay, and again, I'm just going to copy and drag that formula down so that it comes up with the designations for the rest of the rows. Okay, right, so I hope that's not been too confusing for you and it's helped you out. If you do have any questions, please do put it in the comment section. And if you need me to do another video, I'll be happy to do so. So if this video helped, please do like and share the video so that it can reach out to more people. And do consider subscribing so that you don't miss out on any new videos. Okay guys, thank you again for watching and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you, bye-bye.